Welcome to Maru Scale Modelling. This is part 9 of Maru Scale Maru shape. Scale is 1 to 350. In this part I'm going to be carrying on the rigging and switching over to the lifeboats and getting them assembled. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So to begin with, I've got a little bit of tidying up to do. So as you can see, I've already put in all the stays, the back stays, and the verticals for the shroud. So I'm just going to be cutting off some of the tail ends, and I'm simply going to be using my hobby knife to do this. I'm going to leave a little bit still there just in case I need it, but essentially I'm just tidying up any of the little runoffs. I didn't bother showing you the other two masts with the shroud verticals going on because it's basically the same as the first two that I did. So tipping the ship up there, you can hopefully see all the verticals on. So the next job is to fit the boom and the gaff. Now that's the masts at the back. First of all, the boom. Each has its own dedicated location point for these. It can be a little bit tricky to get into position. It's just the nature of the angle of it. I had to get that quite up close so I can see what I'm doing, but you can see now the position it should be in. This one is on a straight, but it's a slight angle, I suppose, going from the bottom, the boom. The gaff part goes at an angle, but the location bracket for that is angled up, so you don't have to try and judge the angle for yourself. It's already there for you. Just to place in. And again, like the boom, the contact point is quite small, so it can be a little bit tricky to fit. I did try clamping this, but it was too much pressure on the mast, so I just held it for a few minutes, well, for about a minute with my tweezers to keep it in place. The next thing to go on is the flagpole. It's just a little upright spike right at the back, and that's painted in white. And I use Revell Aquacolor 04 gloss white for that. If you're unsure about placing it on at this point, just in case you're worried it'll get snapped off, it's perfectly okay to leave this till the end. So it's time to assemble. The two main colours here are the Mr. Hobby H24 gloss orange yellow, and then the white that I used for the flagpole as well. It's the same white throughout the build. The two halves are just pushed together and shouldn't cause any trouble. However, I did come to a bit of a problem. I managed to lose half a light bolt. Would you believe it? However, it's not a complete disaster. All I've done was take a piece of plastic card and placed it onto the exposed side, then just trimmed it down. Now, it's not the best fix in the world, of course. You would obviously technically like to scratch build the whole thing, but this part that I'm closing off with the plastic card, you're not really going to see it because I'll be placing it on such a way that it's pointing towards one of the main buildings, so you won't see it. So this will do as a cheap fix as such. This is to make the horizontal parts of the shrouds. Now all I've done here is cut tiny bits of thread to create the vertical grid, and I've put a minuscule amount of super glue on each vertical of the stays and just placed these little tiny pieces of thread on. Unfortunately, they're so small the camera's not really picking them up, but they are very minuscule, and I'm just working up to the top of the cross tree and just placing them on as I go. In fact, the big chunk of the recording I did of doing the horizontals of the shrouds, basically the camera caught my head and that was it. So I thought it's probably best not to show that, so there's a big chunk of it missed out. But as I said, essentially it's just cutting small bits of thread and putting them on the horizontal up on the stays until it goes to the cross tree. What I'm doing here now is having the mainstays and connecting them to the other masts and making them taut and getting them in position. So these are the ones I anchored to the mast guardrail, and I left loose up until this point, and I'm simply just drawn them along. They go on a slight angle up from the bottom of the mast of its anchor point to the cross tree on the next mast down. So you're creating that slide, that vertical angle for it to go on. And to secure them, I'm simply just wrapping the thread around the mast and doing a simple loop knot, and then securing it with a little bit of super glue. So there you can see me just threading it around the mast. You do have to be quite careful, obviously. For one, you don't want to put too much tension on it because you can end up pulling the mast out of position. And two, you need to get it in the right position, or again, it'll throw off the balance. And that's the whole point of rigging. You've got to try not to throw off the balance when you're doing the rigging. Now, it may look all right at one point, but once you start adding more, it can look off balance and it just will not look right. Now, I found a good set of angle tweezers is essential for doing this rigging, especially for tying off the knots. It can be quite difficult to get this thread to go where you want it to go. So some of the times you feel like you're a surgeon stitching something up with the amount of tweezers what you have to do with the thread. But once you get proficient in it, it is fairly standard. It's just trying to get to that point of being proficient with it. So once I'm happy with the tension, then I simply put a little bit of super glue right at the point where the thread is anchored to the mast, and just hold it for a few seconds until it sets. So I'll hold the ship up once more. You can see the mainstays in position now. Now that the mainstays are in, I can start putting the yards on. That's the cross part of the mast. So this is the lower yards I'm placing in. Now each one does have its own contact point. On the yard itself, the contact point, now I have removed the paint, and I simply put my knife in and twist it around to remove the paint, which you'll see in a moment. Now, you may notice that I've just taken it slightly off camera so I can get it on properly. The reason for that is when you put these yards on, they have to go at an angle, generally about between 8 to 20 degree angle. Now, how I do this is, because the cross trees are dead center and straight, I'll put the yard on, and then I'll just angle the yard to the desired angle, really. This one's about 15%. Now, most people make the mistake of putting these on as straight. They shouldn't go straight at all. Every ship has these yards at an angle. That's to catch the wind. So when you're doing it, make sure it is at a bit of an angle. And again, if you don't, it does actually affect the balance. I keep on going on about that, but it is really important. So when you put the yards on, just to recap, put them on straight, then just slightly angle them to your desired angle. Now, you can use a protractor or something like that if you want to be 100% accurate, of course, but I generally just do it by eye. You don't necessarily get it at the exact angle, I would imagine, but as long as it looks okay. Also, you can see how much room this is affecting the deck now. So imagine trying to anchor the rigging at this point after you put the yards on. It would be extremely difficult to do so. So not all the yards are going on at one go. I'm just doing one step at a time, putting the lower ones on first and then working my way up. And as I'm setting these yards, you can see that I'm just using a paint pot just to make sure they stay at the angle I want. They do have a tendency to pull back to go to a straight angle for some reason, but using paint pot and stuff like that will help. And as I'm doing this, trying to get them set, this is where I'll end part 9. I want these to dry 100% before I move on to the next stage, so this is a good place to stop. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds. If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date with all my builds. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.